Hey folks, welcome. I'm Jim Montgomery, the governance practice lead with TriVir, an OpenText partner specializing in advisory and implementation services in the identity and access management realm. Today in the world of identity governance and administration, we'll talk about the IG data model. This is how IG stores information to help the business perform reviews. Let's get started and look at the business goal. As a governance service provider in your organization implementing IG, you would use the data model so that you can provide a common looking set of accounts and permission attributes for access reviewers, so that regardless of which system they're reviewing, the process is the same. When you break down the process mechanically and consider how you review data from multiple sources, you must first collect access information from where it lives, and then you display it to the reviewers so that they can make choices. However, since access information can be stored in a myriad of ways, we often need to transform or standardize the data we get from applications so that it's all in a similar format. The data that we collect is carefully placed in what we call the catalog. It's a single pane of glass to view access information across the enterprise. Let's look at how you would implement this. The business goal is to understand what access and permissions have been granted to people. IG stores information on people as identity records. Sometimes the tool calls these users in the interface. I think of these as belly button accounts. Each human gets one and only one identity record. It's a logical record that helps us link access we see in the application back to an individual person. IG knows about identities in your environment because it collects them from one or more authoritative sources. The record should contain any information about that person used to help govern and make access decisions, like their title, their department, their manager, their email address. This is all collected regularly to make identity records. Next, after we know who all the identities are, account and permission information is collected. These records are specific to certain applications. So first we create an application record in IG that knows the application name and maybe the identity who owns the application. And we'll end up using that owner later. The application record works as a container to hold what we call collectors. Collectors are responsible for getting account and permissions from individual applications. They come in two flavors, account and permission collectors, and they individually collect those type of objects. An account collector pulls account information from an app using the appropriate network protocol and builds account objects in the catalog. We want account objects to link back to an identity. This shows access rights for users. We also want account objects to contain anything needed for governance or to make access decisions, perhaps last login date, or if the account is enabled or disabled. Similarly, permission collectors pull permission information from an application with the appropriate network protocol, and it builds permission objects in the catalog. Permission collectors are also responsible for determining which accounts have been assigned to the permission. We also want permission objects to contain anything else needed for governance and to make access decisions, such as permission descriptions or individual permission owners. You may be concerned that I've only mentioned permissions. What about groups or roles or other type of access? This is part of the beauty of the IG data model. Everything is a permission. We can indicate with a type attribute on a permission object if the permission is a role type or a group or anything else. You can leverage that attribute to fine-tune exactly what you want to review. Let's look at an example of how you might use this. Here is an Active Directory application configuration. You can see there's an account name, there's an account owner listed, and other attributes. Inside this application collector, there are collectors that are listed. An account collector and a permission collector. You can see in the service parameters for the collectors, we are providing enough information about host and port and credentials so that we can connect to the system that's providing the data. And below that is the mapping fields that we use to take application attributes and assign their values to IG, to the standard data model. Our standard data model attribute names are on the left, and the application attribute that we are mapping from is on the right. Once we collect this data in the catalog, I can see my applications listed. Then if I drill into the applications, I can see all the accounts and permissions that we've collected from that application. I can drill into any of these specific accounts and permissions to find what access users have. You'll notice in the catalog menu, we can see identities, we can see accounts and permissions, as well as applications. Some of these other items we'll talk about at another time. So let's summarize. We looked at the IG data model, which is a core building block of all other functionality inside the identity governance product. We looked at the catalog. One of the first steps in implementation is to collect data into the catalog so you can start doing things with it, like access reviews. That's all for now. Thanks for joining me. If you have questions, you can post them in the OpenText community forum or reach out to me at jmontgomery@trivir.com. Thanks.